Hey guys, it's Gosi. Today we got...
Move out of the way, you Muppet! This video is brought to you by Panda Patrol. Is your home infested by insects, vermins, or just too much cake? We will take care of any problem. And since we are already at the verge of extinction, we won't give two shits about you. So all you have to do is call this number, subscribe, and make sure there is enough cake. Now back to that boring Fap Lord.
Well, goddamn. The angry panda is so rude. Easily the most annoying guy I've met today. Wait, that was someone else. And with that, welcome to episode 5 of Joe's Journey, aka 0 to KSM or plus 20. Because of last week's bad luck considering our own keys, I've decided to try to get into other people's keys more often. And if you don't count the invites that either led to the key not even starting, or to me getting kicked from the party again because someone better applied, it wasn't too bad at all. So in this episode, you will only see 2 keys that were mine to begin with. But first things first, this week is the Mythic Dungeon event, which means that we receive a quest that will provide us with an heroic raid item after completing any 4 Mythic Dungeons. This counts for both Mythic Plus and just normal Mythics. So naturally, we want to grab that one first. And then there's also the vault to open. Just a reminder, we finished last week with 3 normal raid slots and 2 dungeon slots. Both each eye level 441. I'd like to use a fart noise again this week, since this is just far from a good vault. Screw it, who's gonna stop me? The only item that's an increase is the wrists here, so we move. Our first dungeon this week is the same one we ended last week on a bad note, Freehold 16. This was my own key, and since it was freehold, I was keen to do it. Let's talk affixes for a second. We got Storming as our level 7 affix that lets little tornadoes spawn around enemies that will knock you up when hit. So pretty much the volcanic version for melee. And Raging, which buffs Trash with crowd control immunity after reaching 30% of the health. And I'd like to tell you that neither of those even concerned us this week. Besides the extra boss damage coming from Tyrannical, of course. And what can I tell you? For the first run of this week, this was a wet dream of a start. We wanted to kill more Trash so we can use Bloodlust again on the second boss, but we were simply too quick for that. So we went back and did it without Lust after all. Not a single person came close to dying, even on council. So we went ahead and used Bloodlust on Sharkboy instead. Also I cheated a little here. I fully filled up my Maelstrom before the boss started, because I wanted to see if I could keep up with the Evoker. But I couldn't. Not even close. We finished this run by 2-chesting it, which gave us a chunk of rating and an item that, even though it's the same item level, it's still an upgrade considering you can upgrade it a lot higher. We also ended on a whopping 96k DPS overall, and holy moly, look at that dragon's damage. Screw Abyssian, man. Salamander is my new aspect now. Next up is the thing you've all signed up for, and the reason why I took it upon myself to heroically sign up for other people's key, not knowing what will happen. I somehow got invited into a 15 mil terrace, and thinking back, me getting invited into that key by strangers is sort of the first red flag. In this dungeon, a lot went wrong. After pulling only 2 mobs to start off, the paladin accidentally pulled 2 packs on the next pack, which caused us to wipe. I've yet to figure out what's going on, but there's a mob that can either summon a fire elemental or turn one of the snow elementals into a fire elemental. And when that thing is up, you can call it paramedics. I have no idea who or what pulled the second pack here, and I was so unsure about myself, I even asked if I did that. Oh, and by the way, just because you have a hunter in your party, don't assume they use misdirect, so be careful. In fact, if you have a BM hunter, they most likely won't even have a talented. And again, we had one of those fire elementals pop up, which almost wiped our party again. Now for our first boss in this run. Also keep in mind, it's tyrannical. After our tank probably just quickly checked the guide, we entered with lust and cooldowns. And of course, I run into the charge myself, like an absolute tosser. On the second charge I realized that he will actually mark you, so I'm aware of that now. On Volatile Mutation, I just cycled through my cooldowns to minimize the damage income. Oh, and of course I die as well, just as the boss was about to be done. So far so good, but now the wonky stuff started. We overpulled a lot, and because I've never seen that side pulled, I thought I'm good starting to DPS. Considering our tank only did 11k DPS here, he probably didn't use many buttons to either gain or maintain aggro. So we wiped, and I don't know if our tank had a connection issue or maybe a distraction in form of a child with him, but he just randomly stopped doing things, even mid-pull. But since we don't know what's going on, we won't judge and just let it happen. The pressure is slightly off if it's not your own key. Then came probably the hardest boss of the dungeon. Chargup wiped my party so many times before and we played the chains perfectly bad. In fact, 3-second debuff is not only a dumb idea it seems, but letting the 2 stacks almost expire and then 3-secking it is probably even worse. So we tried again. Now, rewatching this, it probably should have been me who just waits out these 2 chains instead of rushing it through again, considering I can just negate the slow with Ghost Wolf. But we managed to get to the second set of chains, which we played a lot worse. 3-second again causes a wipe. Again. I even had to go out to repair. I even asked why they couldn't just wait with the 3rd chain, but again, I could have done that, so now I'm only blaming myself for that. But this group was willing to continue. Made from a different cloth, almost a Jedi Master level of wiping, with rumors saying that some of us even have a PhD in wipology. We went again, until our healer just alta-forward right when we pulled. So we depleted this one, and I've only felt half bad because I believe it was the healer's key to begin with. So that's his decision. Next up is yet another Dead Terrors, but 30 this time. I mainly queued for that so I can get some score up, and also there are 2 decent trinkets dropping from this place. Also because of the last run, I'd love to finish this at least once this week. So we started, and needless to say, this went a lot smoother than 15. Probably because the key level was a bit lower, but also because it felt like overall we were a lot sharper. At least I thought, since we almost wiped on the very next pack. Having 2 of those fire elementals up with a pulsing stacking debuff, everyone died but this menace of a prot warrior. But even he didn't know what the hell happened. And just like on the last run, this boss went smooth. Not even me died here, but right after this boss, the warlock had some bigger plan. No casualties till Chaga, so we directly moved to this boss that disbanded our party earlier. And we did the exact same thing. I didn't learn from the last one either, so I went in first with the chains and then we reapplied the 3rd stack, just shortly before the 2 stacks would have fallen off. But I think our healer was more prepared this time, and I also helped out with some flash shields to make sure at least he stays alive. On the second set of chains, I finally learned and was mindful about the stacks, so I waited out my turn till the 2 stacks ran out to trigger the last. This looked a lot more manageable on the health boss, and with that we finished this boss too. The 3rd boss, Forge Master, also went annoyingly clean, and with no more deaths, as well as too much trash count, I showed my party the skip that I've learned the other week, and we went ahead to deal with the last boss. Well over 6 minutes to handle Saga, so this was surely in the bag. And it was, easily in time. Only 6 score to our name though, and an item that I'm not certain about as being an upgrade due to its stats. We move on to the next key. This time it was my own key again. And thinking of the last Tyrannical week I did that one, I was petrified to do it again. Under Rod 17. And here comes that prick into the picture that I've teased earlier. So I took a well-geared rogue, a well-geared healer that queued up with a paladin on sort of my item level, and a monk tank on my item level to start this one. Not sure if I can recall myself being so focused for a long time, as I really wanted to play this good. Sadly I had no cooldowns on pull when we arrived on the first boss, so I lacked a bit of single target. Not much went wrong and we dispatched off the trash rather quick, so we started to move towards the 3rd boss while waiting for Lust to come up. And even here, we played the boss very good, considering our single target damage was not good at all. I had to soak the final shroom here in order to prevent more group damage, but this priest had the quickest trigger finger when it came to the spells. Even with our paladin dying, we managed to get through it first try, so we made our way back to the second boss. Because I trusted our healer so much at this point, I barely bothered moving to deal with the maggots till tantrum. But at some point our tank got blasted by indigestion, so I ran my ass off in order to survive. But just when we arrived at the next part, the monk started to ask questions. The tank was asking why the paladin only did around 40k DPS with an item level of 430. And his reply was, "I don't know, I'm wondering myself." And just the response of the paladin would have been enough to make me laugh and leave the matter. But not our monk tank. He was determined to shit talk, and even after the rogue and I tried to calm the situation by claiming the paladin did a lot more of the mechanics than we did, he was still on it. After getting asked to possibly talk about this after the dungeon, he told us that we were making this run difficult for him, so he will take his time to give the paladin a quick guide. So I don't know what this guy is on about, but I'm curious about this. Obviously, this isn't a 3-chest run, but what does one expect when queuing with random people? The only thing I've realized is that he seems to be a German, or at least from a German realm, but I don't think I've ever had this type of ego from a German player. Imagine playing tank, just to crash on people and whipping out the "I will leave" card thinking "I don't need you, you need me." No matter how you view yourself, or what do you think you have achieved, if your pride sits in a video game that almost everyone plays casually, I don't think you can call that a win. We are all in a bad mood sometimes, things happen and that's totally fine. But getting online to annoy people just isn't the way, brother. So while us noobs continue to grow as players, maybe those type of gamers should be growing as humans. Anyways, sorry for the detour. We arrived at the last boss unharmed and with 7 minutes on the clock. And as everyone assumed, everyone but the tank, we killed it first attempt as well, leading us to receiving more aspect fragments, a flipping 82 rating and another shot from the monk.
Stop the rot at its source.
With this dungeon completed, we also had our Emissary of War done. This means another item waiting for us in the slot machine that is World of Warcraft. Keep in mind the last time we opened one of these from the time walking event, we got our chromatic acid. So I'm bound for luck, baby. No more messing around. I quickly checked loot spec and it's the same boots I have already in normal. A bit unlucky considering I really wanted to get my hands on the crafted acidic hellstone threads. Those puppies are by far the highest DPS increase from crafted items, so getting a pair of boots from the quest was a bit suboptimal. But for now it's an upgrade, so we won't complain. Next up in line is yet another Nel 13, but this time it's Netherian Slayer. Hailing from the high mountains, this dungeon is known for its little trash count and the annoying bosses that are Rockmora and Naraxxus. Again, this is a key that I've joined, so I have no idea what to expect. Also, did you know that there's an NPC in Valdraken that will lower your keystone for you? This warrior didn't, so we quickly told him and he learned something new today. Shortly after we started, and the beginning went fine. Almost no mishaps here, besides the extra pack that got added by accident. But we recovered, no problem. Oh, by the way, I think this is the first time I'm sharing a run with an arcane mage. As some of you may remember, this is what I originally wanted to play, before PandaDad called upon the elements to change the future. This is also the first time I'm doing this boss as a range, and my god, it is easy. You can just stand and cast, nothing to be aware of at all. Now here I'd like to give out a little advice for you, in case you don't know. The mob's called Mightstone Breaker. Occasionally will cast Avalanche. To avoid that, you pretty much need to be moving ASAP. On Tyrannical weeks this maybe doesn't hurt, but on Fortified this can one-shot you. So here's how you do it wrong, and here's how you do it right. So after clearing the room and playing some minigame, we dispatched of Ularok and moved on to the slightly more annoying Naraxxus. And just like on Rockmora, I've learned that this boss is a lot easier on range than on melee. Just the fact that you can quickly kill the ads without losing uptime is phenomenal. However, I do have a question. Here I use my Empowered Frost Shock, which will root mobs in place, sort of like Frost Nova. But it said immune when I did that. Shortly after, the mage used an actual Frost Nova and it worked. Maybe mages are better than shamans after all?
Don't make me spank you, boy.
Okay, it was just a fluke. With 4 minutes on the clock with 3 chests this run, we started Dargul, and even though the mage asked me to use Lust earlier, I forgot about it, of course. And again, this boss is so much easier as a range. You can just stand in safe distance all fight and not even have to worry about positioning. It's crazy. With a whooping 174 increase in rating, after this I was pretty happy for the day. But then I quickly checked my score and found out that I really need to do an Olderman run this week. That dungeon is pretty much the only one I have not yet finished on a decent key level, so I applied for many, and I mean many keys, till I finally got invited into one. Olderman 13 it is. But first, did you know there's a portal to the Badlands hidden in Valdragon? I had no idea till someone told me that. I've learned something new today as well. And because I'm blind as hell, I increased the size of my weak aura that tells me when my 2-set is about to happen. Hope this will help, but I doubt it. I've come to like this dungeon a lot. Sure, you have 5 bosses to deal with, which can be annoying and tyrannical, but I really enjoyed the pacing and the trash packs here. We made quick work of those dwarves, even using Bloodlust on it, and then quickly made our way towards Spromak. And I can tell you, having a DK and 3 ranged kicks on this boss makes things so much easier. The ads stacked up so quick that I was having a blast. Yet again, nothing of value happened, so let's jump to the next boss. Even that one went pretty good, until it got a bit spicy. We missed to stop one Titanic Empowerment cast, which made the boss immune to stuns and also do a lot more damage. So I found myself using my flash heal more often, as well as defensive cooldown if available. Fortunately, the healer was pumping and kept everyone alive. Emberon again is a lot easier as a range. You got so much more room to play, and even though our mage decided to get one-shot by the beam just when it spawned, we still managed to kill it in a quick fashion. This part of the dungeon is where we can shine. You really want to kick the curse of stone cast by the water, but even if you don't, we can just use our decurse to make sure no one has to die. I love being useful. By skipping the last 2 mobs, like proper gamers, we only had Deus in front of us. For this boss, I advise you to use any sort of movement dispels on you if you are targeted by time sync. This dot ticks pretty decently, so getting rid of it ASAP will make your healer happy. And because I got worried we won't finish this dungeon in time, I secured the whole thing by pressing Bloodlust as soon as it was up. You're welcome, kids. With a score of 1790 and an eye level of 426, we will end the 5th episode. Thank you guys so much for all the support over the past few weeks. I've told you before that even if the amount of views my videos get isn't much in the big picture, it's still a lot, and I mean a lot more than I have expected. If you still watch this far, please comment Naughty Monk, so I know you're still here. With that being said, as always I wish you the most fantastic day whenever you see this, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.